Hello Flosstube, this is Lynette at Homesteading on the Home Front, here for a special edition to officially introduce you to Jessie Robertson. Now I will start by saying that I cannot for the life of me find the mirror that usually goes behind my camera. So I'm shooting blind today. I'm hoping I don't cut my head off. It's gonna be glare because there's windows in back of you. It was either do it now or not at all. This is the third time in as many days I've tried filming, and for some reason or another, I always have to do it again. So anyway, I hope you're having a great day. It's rainy and windy and gross and cold here. So it's a perfect stitching day, which I have done none of. But let's get on with the program, shall we? For those of you who have not seen the previous videos, Jessie Robertson is a sampler that I bought a while ago with the intention of charting her up and giving her away to all of my subscribers as a thank you for subscribing. I am woefully behind on subscriber thank yous, and I wanted to do something that everyone could benefit from and not just one or two or three lucky winners. So I saw Jessie, I fell in love with Jessie, I purchased Jessie, and I charted Jessie. And she is ready to go for you. There will be a link below in the comment, or below in the description box, to a PDF in Google Docs. So I think everyone should be able to access her. The chart itself is 6 pages, and then there's also the the key for the colors. And there's also going to be, I'll probably have to make a separate link to it. I charted out an alphabet for you to use. So if there are two links below, that's why. All right, so here we go. Again, I'm sorry, I can't tell where the glare is or is not, so I'm just gonna do my best here. This is Jessie. She is a mystery. What I know about Jessie is that she was 17 when she stitched her sampler. That's all I know. I spent significant time on Ancestry trying to find our girl. I went with the assumption that these 2 initials would be her parents. This would be her father. This would be her mother. And their names did not necessarily start with I. If you look up here in this alphabet, there is no J. And frequently the girls did that. They did not stitch the J. The I was used for both. And I know that's the case because if you look down here in the corner, her name is Iessie. And so that tells me that this could be an I or it could be a J. And so I spent significant time on Ancestry trying to find a Jessie Robertson with a father whose name was an I or a J, who married a woman whose maiden name was W and whose first name was I or J. And I found like 13 possibilities. I also am assuming these are her siblings because they all have R as a last name, and as do all of these. So I don't know if these are siblings as well or what. And I don't know if she included herself as one of these IRs or if they were other people. So lots of assumptions on this one, but unfortunately, because there's no date on it, I just couldn't narrow down when she was born and which one of those Jessies, if any, might be this one. I did make several inferences though about the sampler. The first, or I made one big inference based on some clues. So I'm going to just go ahead and say that I think this is a Scottish sampler. I'm pretty certain that it's a Scottish sampler, and there are 4 reasons why I say that. The first is that red and green are predominant colors, which is very common in Scottish samplers. The second is because it's just loaded with family initials, and that's also very common in Scottish samplers. The third reason is that we have the peacocks here, again, very common in Scottish samplers. And the fourth reason is that all but one of those 13 Jessie Robertsons that I found on Ancestry were born in Scotland. Robertson is a very, very Scottish name. There's tons of them there. So I believe that this was done in Scotland. She stitched it on linen, which is pretty close to 28 count, if it's not exactly. It's very close to 28 count linen. And I believe she used wool threads because they're very, very puffy and thick. It would have driven me crazy personally to stitch such thick, fat stitches. When I chose the colors for charting it, I used DMC. And that was because I didn't want there to be any issues with color or dye lot variations in the future. Furthermore, these are not very variegated at all. DMC did the trick. And I'm very, very pleased with the colors that I chose. I think they're very close to the originals. The brown was a tad off. It probably would have been closer to use an overdyed thread for the brown, but again, I didn't want to mess with dye lot issues, and yes, it matches now, but 2 years in the future when you finally get around to stitching it, that dye lot has changed and now it's not the same. I did attempt to see what the colors looked like on the back of the sampler. However, it was glued to this cardboard. So I didn't want to do any more damage and decided not to pursue that further. Whatever colors are on the back of the sampler, the original colors will remain a mystery because I don't want to take the chance of wrecking it anymore. So like I said, I was very pleased with my DMC choices that are a hot mess right now. I wanted to get the linen right too. And so I took Jessie with me to StitchCon this summer and tried to find something at Keepsakes that would match, and I just didn't find anything that was right. I found things that were close enough, but nothing that was right. And then I ordered some small pieces of linen from 123 Stitch just to see if I could find a good color, and I had no luck. And so one day a few weeks ago, I took the drive out to Bush Mountain Stitchery, and I found what I think is the perfect color, and it is Weeks Dye Works Cappuccino. So let me show you what it looks like. I don't know if this is going to come out on screen or not, but it's very, very close. The variations are close because it's not a solid linen that well, maybe it was solid color at one point, but it's not anymore. So hopefully you can see that it's very close. It is Weeks Dye Works Cappuccino. I thought it was a 32 count and that I was going to be able to fit this in an 11 by 17 or 11 by 14 frame. So I started stitching the top row, and as you can hopefully see, I stitched 9 and then crossed my 10th, and that makes it very easy to count. And so I got to 160 and measured. Now, if I was working on 32 count linen over 2, that means there's 16 stitches per inch, which means if I stitched 160 stitches, it should be exactly 10 inches wide. So I got to my 160 and I measured, and I was at 10.5 inches. Now, sometimes with hand dyes, they shrink. And so if this started out as a 32 count and in the dyeing process, it might be more of a 35 count. But they don't get bigger. So somewhere along the lines, this was a mismarked piece of fabric. And rather than starting all over and ordering a new piece, I decided I would go with it. And instead of framing her an 11 by 17 or an 11 by 14 frame, I would do a 12 by 16 frame. And so that means I'm gonna have to adjust the width of the sampler, and I would have had to have done that anyway. So that's what I'm using. In fact, the sampler or the frame is right here. I got a good deal on it at Michael's. You can see it's a 12 by 16. I don't think that the gray is going to stay. I think that might either become a brown like the original, or I may paint it brown. It's going to become black like the original, or I may paint it brown to match the DMC color that I used for the brown. So we'll see. But I do recommend, if you are going to stitch Jessie and have her professionally framed, do whatever you're going to do. Stitch it the way you want. Leave out some rows, add some rows, whatever you want. If you are going to stitch Jessie and want her to fit a standard frame, then what I would recommend is that you find your fabric, whatever you want to, whatever count you like working on, okay? And then see how wide she's going to be. Like I said, if you have a genuine 32 count, you should be able to use an 11 by 17 or an 11 by 14 frame, and then just adjust the width by taking out some of these, or adjust the height by taking out some rows here. If you do it on 14 count, it's going to be 11 3/8 by 17 1/4. So you're going to need a wide frame. And off the top of my head, you might be able to get away with a 12 by 16, but again, you'd have to adjust the height. If you do it on an 18 count, it's going to be 9 inches wide, and so you could either use a 10 by 13 or 11 by 14 or 11 by whatever, 11 by 17, whatever you want. And then again, just adjust the height. So my tip for you is figure out what count fabric you're going to use. Stitch it to see how wide it's going to be, and then find a frame to match that width. And then you can easily adjust the height of it by either adding more rows of alphabet or numbers or taking away some of the rows. What I'm doing with mine is that I am obviously not stitching Jessie's family initials. I am using my own family initials. And I have a line on my maternal grandfather's side that I can trace back 10 or 11 generations to England. But we know from other research and documentation that the family name actually originated in Scotland. And so that's why I chose to do that. So these are my parents' initials. This is my grandfather's initials. I'll be starting the next row with my grandmother's, and then I'll be starting with my grandfather's parents. And then I'll be starting with my great-grandfather's parents. And I don't know how many generations I'm going to be able to fit. Maybe all 10, maybe not. But I thought that was a good choice as far as family initials, because the name is Scottish if you go back far enough. And I don't know if you can see, but I'm also doing these letters in eyelet stitch because I love eyelet alphabets. They're a pain in the neck to do, but I love the look of them. So I am making these big letters here into eyelets. So, what else do I have to tell you? I think that's probably it. The chart is 6 pages, if I didn't say that already, and there's another alphabet. I charted, it's basically this same alphabet, but in this size. So basically what you do is you make an eyelet stitch or a block of 4 for every one of these. So these are 4 times bigger than that one. I would love to hear if you're stitching Jessie, if you intend to stitch her. Tag me on Instagram. I am not on at all right now because phone issues. Hoping in the next couple of months that maybe I will actually have a smartphone that it will work and will let me share in the Instagram fun. So tag homesteading on the home front if you're gonna start Jessie. If you have friends that you would like to share Jessie with, please link them to this episode. Please don't share the link to the Google document directly. That link will remain active for a while, but not forever. My intent with this was to thank my current subscribers of Flosstube Nation in this period of time. And so I don't know how long it will be, but sometime in the future that link will no longer work. So download her now and you can either start stitching her or wait until it's convenient for you, but don't wait to download the chart if you're interested because she will not be free forever. I will continue to stitch on Jessie, and I plan to do another video about her and about my experiences and thoughts as I stitch more on her. I will make it a special edition video so that my regular subscribers who have no interest in samplers or stitching on Jessie know that they're not missing out on much by not watching. All right, well, here's hoping 3rd time's a charm and this one works. Have a great weekend, everyone, a nice long weekend, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.